And this is one of the touchy subjects that I mentioned earlier. We got a story here from ABC News. Black man led by mounted police while bound with rope sues Texas City for $1 million. Black man who was led in August 2019. Donald Neely was arrested on criminal trespass charges in Galveston, just outside of Houston. Images and video of his arrest, during which two white police officers led him down the street, handcuffed with a rope tied to their horses, sparked outrage. Then the suit claims that this was extreme and outrageous. It caused him injury, emotional distress, and mental anguish. In addition to got some handcuff abrasions, heat stroke potentially, embarrassment, humiliation, and fear. And I think this. I think we were both in agreement here. We also have the video here. There's some body cam footage from the cops that this is not a good image. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll let the body cam footage speak for itself. But even the cop doing it said, and he said, this is going to look really bad. Quote from the officer's mouth, like, no shit. Yeah, it's going to look really bad.
That's usually the point when you're like, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the video.
It's going to look really bad. Police in Galveston, Texas, who've already apologized to the man you see here being taken into custody, are now releasing police body camera video of this August 3rd arrest that many are calling shameful. More than once, you hear the officers on horseback talk about how this is going to look as they tie a rope to the hands of their black suspect.
By the way, it looks like one man, one woman, I believe.
Suspect, and march him through city streets.
It's going to look so bad. I'm glad you're not embarrassed, Mr. Neely.
43-year-old Donald Neely was living on the streets, has a history of mental illness, and kept showing up at an office building wearing a welding mask.
You want to make him walk a little bit?
It's got to
For
be hot
reasons that
underneath
still
that
aren't
welding
clear,
mask.
the two arresting officers didn't call for a squad car and instead walked the man through town, creating a scene that many find racially offensive.
Stay next to me, because I'm going to drag you if not. You have to stay next to me.
After nearly half an hour, a squad car finally arrives to take Neely
So hold
to
on, pause
jail.
it.
The police chief.
Sure.
So wait, did they said they didn't even call the squad car?
Let's hit that again, because
Yeah.
that wasn't clear to me either.
Through town, creating a scene that many find racially offensive.
Stay next to me, because I'm going to drag you if not.
That's
You have
fucked
to stay next to me.
After nearly half an hour, a squad car.
Nah, they said it before this. Because the article made it seem like, scroll back a little bit.
On the streets, has a history of mental illness, and kept showing up at an office building wearing a welding mask.
You want to make him walk a little bit?
For reasons that still aren't clear, the two arresting officers didn't call for a squad car.
All right, so they didn't even call for a squad car. The article made it seem like they called for a squad car and it wasn't available.
Yeah, and I thought this,
Or at least I think that might be the law. Or from what the article that we read, that we were looking at, it made it seem like the law is that if there isn't a squad car available, that's what they have to do.
right. But I mean, a half hour. It is strange, right? So this is okay. There's a lot going on in here.
It's so much going on.
Now, it looks to me, I don't know what your impression of this. It looks like the female officer is the one in charge here, and she's directing it. Because the male cop says this is going to look really bad. He sounds like this feels now watching this again. This feels like more like nervous laughter, like he's not quite on board. And it's a female officer who's carrying him, and then she says,
"Walk or I'm going to drag you."
"Yeah,
That's fucked up." And like I think there's a Reuters article that I was reading about this that said mounted police in their department are trained to employ this technique when no transport vehicle is available.
Yeah.
So they didn't even call the transport vehicle.
Now, but okay, fine. So I mean, what you should do? Okay, so what they clearly, I think it's clear to me. Yeah, this was a practice before, and apparently in this city it is now ended. So at least if there is a positive here, is that this wasn't like a one-time targeted practice on this particular man, right? I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah, according to this article, it says that it's a technique they train.
Yeah, and so that's what that big blue rope is for. But I mean,
I don't know who just carries around big blue ropes like that. I mean, unless you're like going to the fucking marina to go fishing afterward or something. But
So when transportation isn't available, but well, Zach, they're on horseback. I mean, how far are they going to walk the guy?
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. You know how many times I've seen like people handcuffed sitting on a curb?
Yeah.
Like why they wait for transportation to show up all the time. Like, dude, I can remember like there being this gigantic fight when I was growing up in the parking lot of this grocery store near where I went to middle school. And like the cops came and like put everyone in handcuffs and shit. And it's like there was like 8 or 10 kids sitting there in handcuffs because you can't fit them in the squad car. And they had to wait for the big van to pull up. And like if this was Galveston, Texas, would they have just led them all on like a chain gang and like pulled them behind them to however far away the local, precinct is? Yeah.
I mean, mounted cops they definitely like a relic. Although I did see they were quite effective in one spot during some of the Antifa riots. They just took the horse and just like went through.
Dude, those mounted horses. I was on Bourbon Street and one time and it was like wall to wall. You could not move. Like, I mean, you're like this walking in the middle of Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And they had a mounted police officer that like just, he didn't give a fuck. He would have trampled over people. He just like walked through. And at one point he was going straight and then had to turn like this to go make a U-turn basically. Yeah. And you're already wall to wall. And this horse like just is not giving a fuck. Its ass was just like swinging and hitting people. I mean, so like, I'm sure they need a reason for horses to get through crowds and whatever else, but
very effective.
Yeah, I think a cop on a horse is more effective than a cop on a bike. But like,
bike cop, that's lame.
But what is a bike cop going to do in that situation? Is he going to lead someone by a rope and ride his bicycle?
Yeah, why is that any different?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, great point. I mean, you arrest the guy, fine. Apparently, he seemed to be. This was like multiple issues with this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly got some mental problems. I don't know why he has a welding mask. I assume that's not from his job.
Yeah, I mean, the Reuters article I read about this also said, "quote: The family lawyers have said Neely is known to city police as someone who suffers mental illness and regularly sleeps on the street."
Yeah.
So obviously, this guy is just a man that needs help. He's not like I didn't see anything that said he was a danger or a violent danger to people or anything like that, right?
No, he's someone that he is someone who can't take care of himself. Basically, he's got problems. He needs some sort of assistance in to live. He's got some mental issues. It's clear he doesn't have any place to go. He's a man in need of help, and I just don't see this seems like this is a practice maybe to humiliate. I don't know that it's. I think that this reminds me of like the old days, right? Where you drag the criminal through the town.
Yeah. I mean, what are we going to do next? Like tar and feather people, right?
What about the stock? We bring that back?
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, I don't think this would happen anywhere other than Texas, but if something like this happened in like a different city, like Minneapolis or Chicago, like, dude, that would have like turned into violence, man. People would have
very bad.
It would have been very bad.
Also, this idea that she's basically the cop threatening to drag him. I mean, this is just dangerous, isn't it? I mean, what if the horse just gets spooked for whatever reason or something?
I've never personally seen this done, obviously, but like. And that's a technique they're taught, but I think the bullshit is, why is this still a technique that they're telling people? You know what I mean? Like, why can't, it's 2020. Why can't we do better than that? Do we, I don't think they hog tie people anymore. I was going back. I think there was like an article from like 1997 where someone like died getting hog tied. And it was like, they are banning it. And at least this was in Los Angeles or something. But it's like, we think we evolve and we think of better ways to handle these types of situations. Back in the day when it was the Wild West, the police officers didn't have cars. That's all they had was a fucking horse.
You couldn't wait for the patrol.
Yeah, that was the only way they could get bank robbers and shit and outlaws back to the station or whatever. But
now we have automobiles. So
we have automobiles and cell phones, and they have radios and squad cars. So.
Yeah, a half hour later, the
30 minutes. You can't like sit there with him, let him sit on a bench and wait 30 minutes.
It's almost like I don't want to talk motivation here, but the kind of like The car can go anywhere, right? How fast does a horse walk? So maybe it covers, a couple of blocks in a few minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
A car can cover that within, 10 seconds. And so there's no reason for them to really go anywhere. Like you said, just chill, and if they really wanted, they really need to take a half hour, maybe, I don't know. But this is bad. And the optics beyond so there's then the next level is, of course, then it does look like some sort of potentially slavery imagery, and that just makes the thing all that much worse.
Yeah, and that's the first thing I think a lot of people are going to think of when they see that image. Ben Crump, he's the president of the National Civil Rights Trial Lawyers Association. I didn't know what that was a thing, but he said that when they dragged Donald Neely down the road by horses and rope, it was like they were dragging our entire community down the road.
Yeah. And
that is a very painful quote to hear somebody say. And you think about images of movies and television and textbooks. And it's that's what you see. Take that image of him being dragged by the police and put that in black and white and change what they're wearing or something. And that could be a picture from a textbook talking about slavery.
Yeah, sure could. And it's kind of silly that it's silly that it took this to end, which was seemingly just an anachronistic practice that just should no longer be done. It is strange that I don't want to see no one, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, should be subject to this kind of treatment. And unfortunately, it took this incident to make a change in policy, which is strange, in that sense, because. We assume, as we said, they've been doing this for a long time. So no doubt people of all races and colors have been dragged through the streets by cops on rope. Maybe it's just the fact that we're getting this stuff gets out there more now, potentially, with the body cam footage and all that.
Body cam footage, cell phone footage,
Yeah. So hopefully, so onto the lawsuit. He's suing for $1 million. What do you think of that?
Clearly, he's mentally handicap. Even in the video, he said, "I'm not embarrassed," and she said, "I'm glad you're not embarrassed, Mr. Neely." You know what I mean? But if he's not all there in the head, he probably
might not even know what's going on.
He didn't even know what's going on until maybe his family or friends and saw this and told him dude, this is not okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is not a good thing. There's been times that's happened to me, with inconspicuous tiny things where I'd be oh, that wasn't a big deal. And someone later on would be that was kind of fucked up. And I'd be really? And then you go back and think about it later on. You're oh shit, man. So if this guy, is mentally ill, he's homeless, I think he said they might have had heat stroke or something. Clearly wasn't thinking right.
No.
So
do you think he deserves $1 million?
Do I think he deserves $1 million? Sure.
Yeah. That's what he's asking for.
Yeah. Give it to him.
Give him $1 million. I think $1 million's high. But here's what I want to see. I'd like a settlement of some sort, and I'd like that settlement to go into some sort of a trust or something. Maybe it needs to be $1 million. I don't know what it is, but I'd like to see this man get some sort of a settlement from the city so that those resources could be used to get him into some facility or some kind of a home. Clearly, this man needs help, and that's not helping. So maybe if this is what you do, city. This is how you treat the people, and we don't have. It doesn't seem like we have good systems for homeless and mentally challenged, and even the drug addicted. They end up just on the street because we don't really have an answer to what to do with them. So I would hope he gets some money here and just to set him up so he can get off the streets and maybe get medication or help that he needs.
Yeah. And I only say the 1 million is appropriate because I don't know, the grand scheme of things, I think about how much money police officers usually pay out in settlements, right?
Yeah.
What did Breonna Taylor get? What did her family get? 12 million, I think it was.
Oh, was it that much?
I think it was 12 million. I'm reading an article now. Breonna Taylor's family to receive $12 million settlement from the city of Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Granted, Mr. Neely is still alive, unlike Breonna Taylor. So, let's say they would have dragged him and he would have died. I'm sure the family would have been suing the city for a lot more. So, I feel like I've seen settlements go a lot higher than $1 million. That's why I think, seems like on the low side to me.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, I guess that'd be the difference is that he's. I don't want to make light of his injuries, but I assume he was otherwise physically okay. I think it's more about the humiliation in the practice, right? It isn't. In other words, he might have been uncomfortable out there with the handcuffs on and in the heat, but I don't think there's any lasting physical damage or anything like that. I think it's primarily mental, right?
Yeah.
And he already has, he's got enough problems. I hate to put it that way, but